creatives and writers in particular here tend to silo their lives. Like, well, I'm a dad here, I'm a student here, I'm a boyfriend or girlfriend here, I'm a mom here, I'm this person, I'm that person. And there's all of these personas or ways we have of interacting in the world, and one of those silos is writer or artist or creative, and that's crap. What do you do when it's just not working? Well, I suppose the first question we have to ask is, what do you mean by it? In the context of creative writing, in the context of being an author or a creative of any kind, it generally is going to refer to your career as a whole. It could be the art part, it could be the art portion, it could be the business portion, it could be the craft portion, it could be the legal portion, the financial portion, the emotional portion, whatever. And I think that's the first thing that I want to say about the topic, and something that I try to make clear to every single class I teach, whether that's at a comic book convention or at the university or whatever. At some point, you will hear me talk about the fact that creatives and writers in particular here tend to silo their lives. Like, well, I'm a dad here, I'm a student here, I'm a boyfriend or girlfriend here, I'm a mom here, I'm this person, I'm that person. And there's all of these personas or ways we have of interacting in the world, and one of those silos is writer or artist or creative, and that's crap. We need to get rid of that. The sooner, in my opinion, you divorce yourself from that mindset, the easier it will be to answer the question, what do I do when it isn't working anymore, or isn't working right now? We are creatives and artists and writers 24/7, 365. Constantly. Our filters as creators are always on. We are constantly interacting with the world, and things are catching in our filter. The color of that tree, the texture of that rock, the smell of that shoe, whatever it may be, those things are catching in here and are going to be part of a story or a piece of art someday. Even if your filter isn't catching as much as my filter is, the reality is, if you had, let's pretend, and most of us don't have to pretend, but let's pretend you have a full-time job of some kind, someplace you have to be 5 days a week, okay, for most of your time. And let's say you're at work and you have a really bad interaction with a coworker or a boss or a customer, something like that, and then you get home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and now it's writing time. Are you going to tell me that that bad interaction you had, that bad mood you have as a result of that work experience, isn't going to impact and influence how or if you're able to get your 500 words in, your 1,000 words in, whatever it is? Because I bet it does. If you have an argument with your spouse, if you had your car broke down, you had to change a tire on the side of the freeway, whatever, bad news from the tax guy, anything like that impacts your mood, that impacts your outlook, and then you expect you're going to be able to go in and be creative, be at your creative best. I mean, maybe there's a there's a couple of you out there who can pull that off, but I know I can't. It's really hard. And with so many of us, if I may be so bold, struggling with any number of physical or mental or spiritual or financial or emotional or whatever difficulties, it's hard. We have hard days and we have bad days. And so to pretend that we can silo this creative piece away from all that, I think is foolish. And the sooner we embrace that we are in this journey 24/7, the easier it will be to find solutions to questions like, what do we do when it's just not working? So what do we do when it's just not working? When it's just not working, there is almost always some external force weighing down. Now, as I said before, this could be a physical illness, it could be a mental illness, it could be a financial or emotional or spiritual illness or discomfort, whatever you want to call it. It's hard. When those things spring up, when those things flare up, It can be difficult to keep moving forward. It can be difficult to see the light at the end of whatever tunnel we happen to be in. But my next question would be, what is the it? Can you define the it? It's just not working. Which it are we talking about? Have you already written 5 or more books in a series in an evergreen genre and they're not selling? Because that is a very different it. That is a very different problem to deal with than I want to be a writer and I haven't started yet. 2 very, very different things. If you're at that part, if you're at the I have an idea for a story but I haven't started writing it yet and I don't know how to begin, cool, let's deal with that way before we worry about how to sell that series of 5 books in your fantasy genre or your thriller genre or your romance genre or whatever it is. 2 very different problems. But what do we do about it? How do we deal with it? I think one of the things that has helped me is to assess the situation as honestly and authentically as I can first. What is actually happening? Name it. There's actually, I don't have a link for you unfortunately, but there's some interactive websites that will help you do this. You could probably even do it with like a GPT or something if you wanted to. But it's this idea of, okay, let's stop and go to the basics. Let's start with our body. When is the last time you took a deep breath? Think about it. I haven't taken a deep breath in at least 10 minutes now. I'm breathing, but I haven't stopped and taken a deep breath. Okay, that's very different. All right, when is the last time you had a glass of water? I have a glass of water. Am I hydrated? Yes. Okay, so I can knock that off my list. How has your sleep been? Have you been getting enough uninterrupted, really good quality sleep? Because if not, that's probably an issue. What can you do to fix that? Have you been getting any exercise? Have you gone for a walk? Have you done some push-ups? Have you done anything to get your body moving? Have you done any stretching or yoga? Anything to get your body moving and out of this fucking chair? My answer, not today. And I don't think yesterday. That might be an issue. Maybe let's start there before I worry about marketing my 5-book fantasy series. You see what I'm saying? Go through those checklists. Create a checklist for yourself. What are the things I have and haven't done? How's your diet been? What did you have to eat today? Are you uncomfortable because of something you ate and you knew you shouldn't have had it? Is now a good time to choose the salad instead of the pizza? I probably should. I didn't. Okay, that's something I can kind of mark off on my list to do differently and see what kind of impact it has. Now, let's move past the physical. Let's move past your body, but I recommend you always start there. Let's move past that and go to the practical, the actionable stuff. Dude, I wrote this series or I wrote this book and it's out on Amazon and nobody's buying it. What do I do? I have spent thousands of dollars on courses. I have spent thousands of dollars on Facebook ads and Amazon ads and doing all the posts. And I've been following Gary Vee and I've been doing all that stuff and I've been posting 5 times a day and none of it is working. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Tune in next week because that's a difficult question. How you address it, how you look at it, how you hold that gem of a problem up and look at its various facets will help get you through this. One thing I've learned over the last 15 plus years that I've been doing this professionally is there is rarely one solution. There is certainly never one solution for every person. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. If you haven't heard of Gary Vee, go look him up, Gary Vaynerchuk. But I've found myself kind of starting to back off a little bit because while I've learned a lot, and I will read his next book, and I am enormously grateful for the opportunity to have spoken to him once before, which I should drop a link for you, there's also a point where it became too much. I also have other authors and business people, successful independent authors and traditional authors that I follow on Substack and on email lists and things like that. And one of the things I've had to do is back the fuck off because you can end up like I have. You can end up with so much advice that all you do each day is take advice and not put any of it into practice. So that would be one of the things I would add to my checklist. Are you reading about doing something or are you doing something? Because look, let's take Facebook ads. You could take all the Facebook ads you want. Cool, man. Go for it. I happen to like them. I think there's benefit there if you learn how to do it well, okay? But doing it is still a better education than reading about it. I'm not saying you should just jump in blind, but at some point you have to stop reading about it, stop taking the courses, and do the damn work. When Gary Vee says you should be posting 5 times a day, 8 times a day, every day, for however long, that's a really hard thing to do. But have you been doing it? Like, that's one of the biggest notes I have to give myself. I've got this document right now that's, I don't know how many hundreds of pages of all the notes I've taken for like the last 15 years, okay? And one of them that I have to keep coming back to is, but did you do it? Did you actually do the thing you wrote the note about? Because a lot of times, for me, I haven't. I just went on to read the next thing because it feels like motion. It feels like you're moving forward. But until you actually do the thing, you're not. So that would be one of the ways I would look at that particular problem gem. We'll call it a problem gem. Looking at that facet. Did you actually do the thing? But I think one of the other facets then to look at on when it's just not working is, who are you? That's a very vague way of talking about brand, I suppose some people might say. That's not entirely where I'm coming from. Yes, brand is important. Yes, there are people you could follow or subscribe to or buy who tell you all about your brand. Yes, it can be and is important. But what I mean is figuring out what you are comfortable with and what you want and what you want to do. I have some students who I think personally, like, and I've told them, like, you need to be on video. You need to be on other platforms that have video that I won't name. You know what they are. Because that's a perfect venue for you. And then there's some other people where I'm like, don't do video. Whatever you do, do not do video. You need to write long form blog style posts. Person over there, you need to get on that other platform and write short, pithy little jokes, because you are really good at that and you will amass a huge following, and it ties into what you're writing or what you're creating, right? People like me take all that stuff, all that spaghetti, and throw it against the wall as hard as we can, which isn't necessarily a bad way to do it, except that that's all I do. I just keep scooping up spaghetti. Instead of waiting to see what sticks, I just keep throwing it, and then it gets really, really bad really fast. But I do believe there is absolutely a solution for every creator out there. It's just a matter of systematically testing each one and working through it and using the resources that you have to do it. Asking yourself, being comfortable with yourself, to be honest about yourself, to be honest with, I do not want to do video. Then don't do video. All the stuff that's telling you to do videos, knock it off, quit. It's not going to help you. We can see how uncomfortable and unhappy you are doing it. Knock it off. Maybe you're a long-form blog person, whatever. But I think to answer that question starts with having an honest talk with yourself, an honest assessment of yourself and what you like and what you don't like, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. So this has been another episode of How Vague Can I Be? But the reason it's been kind of vague is it's different for each person. Number one, we're all in this together. And number two, nothing makes me happier than being able to help other creatives, artists, and writers in particular get through the hard stuff and go on to create the stuff that they are burning up to create and share. That's where I come from. If I could get back, when I get back, as I work towards getting back to being the 11-year-old, 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 20-year-old who was out there telling stories nonstop because he couldn't imagine not telling them, man, the closer I get back to that guy, the happier I get. I know that much. And anything I can do to help you on your journey to do that, that's what I want to do. But let me know what you're dealing with in the comments as you watch the recording, and I'll throw in my 2 cents if you want it, for what it's worth. But I do know this, you can't quit. Don't quit. Take a break. Take a vacation. Don't quit. All right? All right.